Welcome to this 1-hour webinar titled Padlet and DHH. After the presentation is complete, we will take questions. At the top of your screen, you should see two icons. One is a speaker to turn on the audio. The second one looks like a person raising their hand. You can use that to communicate quick information with the presenter, such as an agreement, disagreement, speak louder, or slow down. The chat box is for asking questions and making comments during the presentation. Please also notice the captioning pod in the bottom part of your screen. You can adjust the print for your comfort by using the menus at the top of the captioning pod. Today, I'm excited to be able to announce we have Sherry Conrad as our presenter. Sherry is the Technology and Training Specialist providing professional development and technical assistance to professionals working with students who have hearing loss across the state of Florida. She graduated from Florida State University with a master's degree in curriculum and instruction with an emphasis on severe profound disabilities. She has an extensive background in the field of Deaf Plus and itinerant teaching in pre-K through transition age environments, as well as the experience in IEP writing and compliance monitoring. She is also a certified visual phonics trainer.
Thanks, Nancy. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Padlet for DHH, keeping it together without losing your mind. I was looking at the participants for this presentation, and I see that we do have a lot of itinerants in the house. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I hope that you'll be able to get something out of this that you'll be able to take back and use in your service provision tomorrow. If at any time you have a question, feel free to use the tools in the top of the Adobe Connect room, and someone will stop me if I'm on a roll. So welcome, and I'm so glad you're all here. As Nancy told you, I am part of the Resource Materials and Technology Center for the Deaf, Hard of Hearing, RMTC, and we're a statewide discretionary project housed on the campus of the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind up in beautiful St. Augustine. We have a mission to work collaboratively with teachers and other staff members across the state of Florida to increase outcomes for our students who are deaf and hard of hearing. Here's our team. That's my picture in the top left. I do like to go to the beach a lot. Next to me is Mark Keith, our parent training specialist. You just heard Miss Nancy doing the introduction. Kara is our transition and deaf ed coordinator, and she also works for the Deaf Tech grant. Carmelene is our boss. She keeps us all together. Laura is our administrative assistant, and she keeps us keeps all of our travel straight and makes sure that we are taking care of all of the things that we need to do to keep up with everyone. And Ezra is our technology specialist, and he helps us out with webinars and getting our website up. We each have our unique roles, and it takes every one of us to put on a presentation, either live or via Adobe Connect, like what we're doing today. RMTC-DHH is a discretionary project, like I mentioned before, funded by the Florida Department of Education. We offer professional development, on-site observation and consultation, on-site training and tech assistance. We have a free loan, media, and materials library. And we even will pay for the shipping both directions if you borrow something from our loan library. And it does include captioned and signed videos for students and staff, as well as professional development resources and materials. RMTC can also offer evaluations and assessments, information and referral, and resources, either by way of talking to a human or our website. We can get you connected with what you need to help your students who are deaf and hard of hearing. This year, we are fortunate to have launched 3 online modules: the Functional Listening Evaluation, Usher Screening, and Deaf Ed Express. The Functional Listening Evaluation is available now on our website. The FLE is an assessment used to determine the communication access for students in a variety of settings at school. It can also be used to make data-based decisions about accommodations for access in the classroom. Usher syndrome screening and DefEd Express are both housed on the Professional Development Portal through the Department of Education. All students who are deaf and hard of hearing are required to, by statute, be screened for Usher syndrome one time before graduating. And DefEd Express is our newest module in the PD portal. It is an introduction to deaf education for anyone in a school working with a student who is deaf or hard of hearing, not just for teachers of the deaf. We've had several gen ed teachers take this module and give us excellent feedback on it. If you are not receiving our Tech Notes, you are missing out. Tech Notes shares upcoming professional development, new resources we find, and statewide initiatives for all of our stakeholders. So, what are we going to do today? I'm going to share everything that I love about Padlet. I've been using Padlet for about 5 years now, and so you're going to need to know the functions of Padlet. And we're going to talk about planning for instruction using Padlet, as well as delivering instruction by way of Padlet, specific to teachers for students who are deaf and hard of hearing. So let's jump right in. Padlet.com is one of many online bulletin board style data sharing devices. Formerly known as Wallwisher, that's a little bit trivia you may need to know later. Padlet is free to use and easy for users with minimal to advanced technological skills. Accessible on a variety of platforms, including Windows, iOS, Android, various phones, tablets, and laptops, Padlet's cloud-based functionality allows users to engage in their digital property from almost anywhere. This is especially important for use in schools where the tech students have at home may be very different from the technology they can access at school or at home. What you are seeing on this slide is the landing page when you visit Padlet.com. Users have to register with an email in order to use this tool. I'll walk you through the registration in a few slides. A side note, when you sign up for Padlet, they do not bombard your email with fluff. The only emails that I've received from them are when they've rolled out updates, which they just rolled out a really exciting update, and I'll share that with you in just a few slides. So, how can we use Padlet? Well, we can use it for managing information and thinking. Padlet offers a platform for teachers and students to manage information and produce a clearly thought out space for presenting any of that information. Wall options allow users to customize the organization strategies to allow for ease of understanding. In terms of communicating, Padlet allows for hyperlinks to be embedded on a user's wall, making it possible to add anything from the internet. This would include links to social media platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, as well as links to shareable documents from platforms such as the Google Suite or Office 365. Comment and reaction options allow users and visitors an opportunity to react with the media that's been presented. Padlet is an excellent way for providing collaboration options. By sharing walls, students and teachers can collaborate with each other on projects, even if they're not in the same school. In many instances, I will share a Padlet to share a list of resources with teachers across the state. An example for itinerant teachers would be that you could have students collaborate on the same project by commenting or adding information from their individual schools about a topic that is being shared between them. One topic that we used was a self-advocacy unit where students were sharing communication strategies with different businesses in our community when I was still an itinerant teacher. We had the students all go to a single place to share links, pages that they had created, and now Padlet has even given us the opportunity to provide video, auditory, or even drawn feedback. Padlet gives users an opportunity to express their creativity. students and teachers' ability to add what pleases them aesthetically while managing information allows for that creative outlet that you can't get on paper. I think we've talked a little bit about the virtual participation. By creating a digital utility, teachers and students can add and view information from anywhere, anytime they have a Wi-Fi connection. Differentiation of instruction can happen when teachers create walls of similar information for students of varying reading or cognitive abilities. Putting it into a format that looks similar allows for the reading level to be lowered without making it abundantly obvious to the rest of the students that a child is doing something different. And universal design for learning. Padlet allows teachers and students the opportunity to engage in lessons with multiple means of representation, multiple means of engagement, and multiple means of action and expression, all from a single wall. For example, a teacher presenting a math lesson could have a series of interactive notebook pages for students to print and create, or a video of the real-life implications of the lesson, or a Khan Academy module related to the topic, all on one Padlet page related to a standard being covered. These examples would be multiple means of representation and would allow for students to gain knowledge in different formats, increasing access to the actual content they need to learn. In order to use Padlet, you have to create an account. So you would start by clicking on the pink button that reads, "Sign up, it's free." Padlet's intuitive design allows users to sign up with Google, Facebook, or by an email address. Once you enter your email address and create a password, it's going to ask you if you want to upgrade for $34.99 a year. I don't know about you guys, but I was an itinerant teacher for a long time, and $34.99 a year was a lot of money in itinerant teacher terms. So I could recommend that you just click skip in the upper right corner of the page to continue with free usage. Most educators and users in this domain are not going to need the advanced features provided in the upgraded versions, but we will talk about those a little later. Okay, you're in. So now what? When you first start, it gives you a little picture of a desert-like area because I haven't added anything to this particular Padlet account. On this page, it gives you the opportunity to make a Padlet, join an already existing Padlet, view their gallery, and of course, they're going to give you the opportunity to upgrade to that paid version, but you don't need it. In order to make my first Padlet, I clicked on the pink Make a Padlet button. Once you click Make a Padlet, then you can let your creative juices flow. It's at this point you're going to have to select the format you want your wall to take. For the purpose of this presentation, I made Padlets in each of the layout styles with the same information so you can see how it's presented differently and you can see the features of the actual wall. Let's talk about a canvas. Users on a Canvas wall can scatter, group, and connect content in any way. I'm going to click on the link so you can see the live canvas. In this example, you can see I've attempted to cluster sites of similar categories. Some people may like this layout, and it would be great for assigning different content to collaborative work groups in a class. It is freeform, so as you move things, all you have to do is click anywhere on the box and move it around, and it'll stick wherever you let go. You can also color code your titles in order to help with categorization. Let's add RMTC's website to this canvas and add it to the state websites group over here, which is blue. I'm going to click the pink plus sign down in the corner, and it's going to give me an empty white box. I'm going to call this RMTC, and I'm going to click on the link button. When that happens, it brings me up an opportunity to enter the URL. I'm pretty familiar with this URL, so if I just type in RMTC-DHH.org, shameless plug, guys, go to that website and check it out, and then click Save, you can see it has added RMTC's website. Now, I want to put it back up there with those other state sites So I'm going to click off of it, go back over, click, and start dragging it up with my never letting go. But I want it to be blue, like the rest of them in that group. So I'm going to hover. I haven't clicked anything yet. Clicking on the 3 dots gives me the opportunity to bring up a new menu where I can edit, connect it to another post, bring it to the front, send it to the back. All of those things are able to be done within this little menu, but I just want to make it blue. So you can see that it's currently no color selected. So I'm going to go over here, click on the blue, and it makes it the same color as the rest of my statewide websites. Now, I'm a little bit OCD, so this particular format is not my cup of tea because wherever you move it is where it stays. And when you give other people the opportunity to put things on your wall, it does not stay in nice, neat, orderly places if they don't know to put them there. But this would be great for students to be able to put information in categories according to their desires. Also, they can put it in a linear format. They can make different shapes. These are opportunities for students to show that creative side. All right. The next format is a wall. In this example, you're going to see that the information is arranged on the board according to the order in which you add it. The layout of information on this type of wall is fluid and adjusts depending on the size of the window in which it's being viewed. So when I click on this, I have my screen maximized right now. You can see it is 7 tiles across. If I minimize my screen, it becomes only 3 tiles across. As I expand, the content also expands. These are the same websites that you saw on the previous slide. When you add content to a Padlet wall, you have several different options. We already talked about the plus sign. You can also simply double-click anywhere on a blank space, and it'll bring up that empty place to put your information. So again, I'm going to add the RMTC website by adding the link. In case you forgot, it's RMTC-DHH.org. Shameless plug. This is only going to happen like 4 more times, guys. And when I click Save, that RMTC website comes up. And again, you can color coordinate these any way you like if you want to show connections between your websites. This is good because it will only place things on the wall that you can see. You don't have to scroll to the left or to the right to find your information. You just have to be able to scroll up and down. This layout could be used for subordinate and superordinate classification of categories. The wall becomes the category, and the artifacts on the wall become the examples. For example, high school social studies teachers could create a wall shared with students where they're requesting artifacts related to satirical commentary on a specific aspect of a unit that they're studying. Students would have to look for information and place it on the wall. Now, the savvy teacher is going to disallow duplicates, meaning that the longer the kids wait to do their homework, the harder it is for them to find original content. Using that same information provided in the previous wall samples, I've also created a streamed wall with that same information. Much like the stream on Facebook or Twitter, this layout puts your information in a continuous vertical line, and viewers must scroll to find what they're looking for. This layout would be great for information you want to see in a sequence. Examples applying to this layout would be a lesson that included a pretest, content, and a post-test, or a progression of articles about a topic that shows its development over time. You can create headers for the sections by following some of the same steps as adding new content. When I click on this, it will open the new site, and you can see it is a linear format. I have my state website, my intervention website, disability related, cool videos, and strategies. Another way you can add content to a Padlet is by right-clicking, or if you're on a Mac, by using the two-finger click, which will open up a micro menu where you can change the, where you can add content. Where you can add that content, RMTC, website. And again, you can enter the URL. You could also visit that cool website, RMTC-DHH.org. You can copy and paste it, or if you hold on to it, drop it onto the stream. Now, I've accidentally made two different spaces, so I'm going to use that trash can up in the top right-hand corner to get rid of that page that I accidentally added. You can create headers, like I've added the state website's header, and you can also allow for people to love or like your post and add comments. This would be a good way for you to create a social presence for your students in a safe environment. The shelf layout stacks content in a series of columns. This might be my favorite layout. It's similar to the grid option, but with vertical orientation. Teachers can organize large projects with complex steps, kind of think like maybe the science fair, and put that into accessible, manageable chunks for students to complete in that sequence. Using the science fair as an example, the first column could be selecting your topic with mandatory documents needed and resources for topic selection. The second column could be how you outline your research and establish a hypothesis. The third column could be used to provide resources regarding report writing and presentation during the fair. For shelf layouts, you have a little bit of change up to the plus sign addition for content. In this layout, there is a plus sign at the top of each column. Clicking on this will bring up the title and description box and allow you to enter your data. You can still drag and double click. For example, students can create a shelf Padlet on local resources for hearing loss. A column could be dedicated to each of the following types of support in a community: audiologists, hearing aid dispensers, interpreter agencies, captioning resources, tutors who can sign. All of these things can then be shared amongst all the people in the community by social media and become an invaluable resource. These resources then would be targeted specific to the community in which it was developed. Allowing comments on this section would allow users familiar with each resource to leave a review. This is an example of the shelf of resources. You can see it reads ATIA up there because we presented this content at the Assistive Technology International Association's symposium. And the scroll feature on a shelf is different. As you scroll, it only scrolls in the column in which you are hovering. So as I move from one to the other, I can scroll to see what each section has in it. So in this one, I added a DHH resources. If I add that plus sign, guess what website I'm going to put in there? If you guessed RMTC, you are exactly right. RMTC. And there's our website. Now, make sure that you're careful when you're using a shelf that you are putting the things underneath the category that you have established. Otherwise, you could use another format. The grid layout allows for content to be arranged in rows of boxes. This would be a great layout for an assignment when implementing differentiated instruction or universal design for learning. For example, each row of boxes would contain the assignment and resources for completing the assignment. The students could review each one before selecting what to do. Here you see I've added section headers for each section of the grid. Now, when you move an item on this format, so for example, if I want to move Intervention Central's website link, and I think, you know what, maybe that's really a state resource, so I move it up, it moves everything after it. So you have to be careful. This one will be as many as 4 wide and as many as you need it to be long, but it will move everything after it if you decide to move things. I wish I could stop and let you guys ask questions. So I showed you a couple of different ways to add content to your Padlet. You can double click. You can click that pink plus sign down in the bottom right-hand corner, or you can drag items to the wall. If you've downloaded a PDF, you can just click on where you've downloaded it and drag it up onto that wall. There are many different media types that you can add to a Padlet wall. You can put a box of text. You can put a recording of your voice, a hyperlink, a photo, and a document. These were all of the media types that were available as of the January release of this presentation. I also received an email about 3 weeks ago, that showed updates and upgrades to the Padlet wall opportunities, and we're going to talk about those new and improved features in just a minute. It's very, very, very exciting for our teachers working with kids who are deaf and hard of hearing. So, on February 15th, Padlet launched the ability to draw, use your voice, film a video, snap a picture, search from Google from within the Padlet, add a map, or link another Padlet within a Padlet. And there was an app update for version 45 specific to portable devices. So I made a little Padlet to show you some of those new features. As you can see, students can drop a picture on the wall for introductions, assignments, and responses. This would be great, especially if you're working as an itinerant teacher across a district and you want students to work collaboratively, but they've never met each other because maybe there's 25 miles between schools. This gives teachers an opportunity and students to post a picture of themselves. Now, as with anything, teachers should closely monitor this because there would be no censoring. You can make a video. Students can then be given the opportunity to sign their own responses to content on your Padlet wall. They can also record audio. Being able to record their voices gives students an opportunity to respond without having to be able to write. Additionally, it would also be a great chance for kids to practice their articulation skills. How cool is that? Maybe my favorite new toy in the Padlet world is to be able to draw. If you click on the drawing, you can see that I've drawn a little "Now you can draw" a picture. By double-clicking, clicking on the menu, and clicking on the draw feature, I can use a white or a black backdrop and choose from a limited number of colors. in the email when they were sharing, when the Padlet developers were sharing the information, they said if there is a color that you really, really want, that you could email them and they would consider adding it to the palette down below. You can also erase. But this would give kids an opportunity to share information that maybe they don't know how to produce digitally. Oh, I haven't saved my drawing. Am I sure I want to close it? Yes, I'm sure. This was a Google search that I conducted within Padlet just on sign language. And if anybody can tell me where this place is on the map, you can have 5,000 RMTC points. Be advised, RMTC points add up, but they just go on forever. There's really no ending to it. Does anybody want to guess what place this is on the map? It's a big lake. No guesses? Okay. So we talked about how to develop a Padlet, but Padlet is really great for planning. You can store ideas for upcoming units. You can put information out there to visualize the scope and sequence of a particular subject across a school year. You can create a plan for assistive technology integration, align grade level standards with access points, or house your reference materials. Here are some examples that either I've developed or I've borrowed from other professionals for planning. This Padlet is particularly useful for teachers of students who are deaf and hard of hearing. We've taken the expanded skills and speech and auditory training standards and added them to a Padlet where we've categorized it into elementary, middle, and high school standards, as well as additional resources. So if you see, you have you'll have access to this Padlet at the close of this presentation. If you'll just search for my name, Sherry Conrad, inside the Padlet platform, you can find it. But in here, you have the CPALMS website, the printable CPALMS pages, the expanded skills pre-K through 5 skill alignment, and the expanded skills list with a summary from pre-K to 5. I'd like to show you this document. This is pretty exciting. A teacher from Okeechobee County, Felicia Massey, and I worked on this together. And it's breaking down the standards for expanded skills, but giving you subcategories so that if you need to quickly find a standard related to deaf culture or a standard related to study skills, these are already broken down so that you can see how the different major concepts reviewed in the expanded skill curriculum. And that's been done for middle and high school as well. This expanded skills checklist was another resource developed by Felicia Massey. And it was adapted from the Minnesota checklist for DHH and the Steps to Success by Lynn Price. If you've gone to either of those trainings, you know that there's a wealth of knowledge in there. This is just something that Felicia made in order to be able to keep all of those options together. So what she's done is she's taken the strands, aligned them to the emerging skills, basic, intermediate, and advanced, and the grade levels, and then aligned them to the expanded skills standards. So take a minute to go check that out. When I worked in the district, we created a program called Friends for Life. And Friends for Life was based on the research on peer-mediated social intervention. What we did was we took students with severe and profound disabilities and paired them with students without disabilities and put them into social activities together in order to raise awareness, help students to develop empathy, as well as provide support for communication, fine motor, gross motor, and various skills for the students with disabilities. One of the activities that we provided was we brought the students without disabilities together for a training, and their goal was to produce different media for distribution in their school for Disabilities Awareness Week. So we broke them into 3 groups. Group 1, yeah, that should say group 2. So let me edit that by clicking on the 3 dots, renaming it, highlighting it, changing it, and saving it. Group 1 was focusing on disabilities. Group 2 was focusing on People First Language, and Group 3 was focusing on inclusion. Each student was given the resources and asked to create either a presentation, a trifold brochure, a poster, or an email blast to send out to their school. We started with taking a pretest, we gave them the guidelines, and then we gave each group the Padlet. This gave us an opportunity to give everybody the same page so they could see what each other group was doing, but gives them individual assignments. This is an example of how you can break a big topic into multiple smaller topics. If you haven't had a chance to watch this video called Don't Limit Me, we also showed that at the beginning of the lesson. It's adorable. You have to take the time to go see it. Now, I did not make this Padlet. This Padlet was developed by Regan Chalmers, and it was a make and take for modified curriculum for teachers. The resources on this page are huge. It's specific to working with students with severe and profound disabilities, students who are on access points, but it is another wealth of resources for working with kids with the most severe disabilities. A lot of our kids who are Deaf Plus can use the strategies that are embedded in this Padlet. So if you have a chance, make sure that you take a look at that as well. So when we're using Padlet to deliver instruction, it provides teachers with the ability to plan and prepare from anywhere. One of the beautiful things about it is that it is cloud-based as long as you remember your password, and the standards don't change. But you can reuse the lessons the following year if you save them. Teachers can include accessible materials so all students have the opportunity to participate in class activities equally. For example, a content area teacher can have a Padlet with a link to a text that students are expected to read for a science lesson. On the same page could be the audio version and a signed version of the same text. The teacher may also include a video of the same concept on that page. By providing multiple means of representation, the teacher is incorporating the principles of universal design for learning and increasing all students' ability to learn the content. Another shameless plug, if you don't know where to get good captioned media or signed media, take out a pencil and write down the Described Captioned Media Program. DCMP.org is a resource for providing accessible materials to our students. Also, you can find a lot of good information via PBS Learning Media. And if you go over or contact Kara Wilmot at RMTC, she also has a great presentation on captions that also has a ton of resources in it. Teachers can create leveled options for students with varying abilities. Included in those regular education classrooms, including those kids in regular education classrooms receiving instruction via access points. By having all students use the same platform, it increases the acceptance and decreases the feelings of inferiority that can be felt by students with severe and profound disabilities if they feel like they aren't equal to or part of the class culture. By giving them opportunities to participate in real activities in the classroom that look like what everybody else is doing, it increases their participation in classroom and campus life. As an itinerant teacher, it was often difficult for me to cover everything I needed to in the time I had with my high school students. I would email my students a link to a Padlet and ask them to complete a quick assignment and submit it back to me in order to earn a reward. Now, if you work as an itinerant teacher with high school students, you know that the load that they have is significant. The academic demands, the social demands. So I would have to engage a little bit of PBS in order to get these things done. And that PBS would be in the form of some kind of reward for finishing the task that I set before them. Many times it was an Egg McMuffin from McDonald's if I saw them in the morning. I actually had one student beg me for Taco Bell tacos. It was not bribery, it is positive behavior support. So this was an example of a Padlet that we used to flip the classroom. On it, you will see site directions. And I also put my next step lesson on this Padlet so that I would have that when I went back to the school. They had assignment directions, and then they had different links that they could review, which included a Quizlet vocabulary practice, the ASHA website on acoustics, what happens when a student is further away from the speaker, and their assignment may have them just send me an email with 2 sentences about what they learned, or for them to tell me how they would advocate for better acoustic situations in the classroom. The whole point was for me to expand on my time with them because it is so hard to get into those high school or middle school, I mean even sometimes the elementary schools, but it's difficult to get into those classrooms and provide the supports that you know the students need in order to be successful. If you don't know Jennifer Middlesworth, she is a fiddler's tech, and she makes the most robust, resource-packed Padlets I've ever seen. This particular Padlet of hers is a resource plethora for making reading instruction explicit. The reason it's taking so long to load is because when you see what's on here, you'll understand. Each one of those little boxes is a resource. These are just links to different reading-based websites. 3 columns of links for making reading instruction explicit. Then she goes a step further and breaks it down into the areas of vocabulary, fluency. I'm not even scrolling to the end. Oh, there, I finally hit the end. Comprehension, decoding and phonemic awareness, and then her materials from the Making Reading Instruction Explicit training. This is a great resource for sharing with your teachers in order to make sure that the reading instruction that your students are receiving is explicit. So, if I have a deaf education classroom, how can I use Padlet? On this particular board, students can pose questions, and I can post media to respond to their content. This could be via signing, an audio recording, a link to a website explaining a concept, a diagram, a document, anything. Students can do this at any time, anywhere, from home, on the bus to a game, at grandma's house, or even in after-school tutoring. Having an email notification of posts allows me to see when they post and respond at any time. For some boards, I only allow the reactions of like. I would want kids to be positive with each other and not give them an opportunity to respond negatively. So a thumbs down or a low rating, I wouldn't want that to be an option. I would share with the class that if you had this question too, give the question a like, or if they thought that that was a good question. I chose the Canvas layout for this board so that students can place their questions anywhere, and it makes it feel like a physical bulletin board. I did not require moderator approval for posts to be published, but this is an option for teachers if you're worried about appropriateness of the posts. So all you have to do is put a question board up, and I even made it look like a cork board. And so if a student wanted to know, when are you coming to see me, that question could be there, and I could add the response, Tuesday at 11:30, please be in the office. And then my student could see that. Well, maybe they have a field trip that day, so then the student could reply, but I have a field trip, and then we could organize it. As an itinerant teacher, one of the things that was most frustrating was driving 7 miles across town to get to school only to find out that the student is on a field trip. So this gives teachers an opportunity for students to advocate for the planning of their own education. And just ask general questions. All right, guys, this one makes me a little bit excited. When students leave public school, they have to learn how to access the resources that they need in order to access communication. And that includes requesting an interpreter. For high school students, and even middle school students, if they had after-school activities, sometimes we would get same-day notice that there's a activity they want to do after school, and then we were scrambling to find an interpreter. So what we did, or what I did, was create a Padlet. And students could not just request an interpreter for a date and time, but they could request a specific interpreter. So when I originally built this, we were at ATIA in Orlando. So you can see we had our interpreters' names were Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy Dog. And so what the students could do is list the activity, the time, and what they needed the interpreter for. The teacher could then go in and say approved, or maybe if they had two students had requested the same interpreter, they could get a note saying, hey, listen, you were the second one to post and it was denied, pick a different interpreter. This would have to be in situations where the students understood what their needs are. You can't just put this up there and then expect students to know whether or not they need an interpreter and what that means to request. So we would also include information that if you've already got a recurring event, copy the request, change the date, and post it in the order for the interpreter you're requesting. You have to leave at least an hour gap in between interpreter requests so they can drive from one place to another, because we wouldn't want a student to request an interpreter who needs to be at a meeting from 5 to 7, and then another student to request the interpreter from 7 to 9. This makes kids responsible for their own accommodations. Now, little caveat to that. If a student doesn't remember to request, and we are providing that service after school, a school district would still have to make every effort to get that interpreter there after school. You can't just say, well, you didn't request it, sorry, too bad, especially if the student is not prepared to make those kind of requests. But this is just one way that we can use Padlet to make the students responsible. If you don't feel comfortable having the interpreter's names, then you can just give maybe weeks as category headings. So the week of March 5th through the 9th, the week of March 12th through the 17th. That would give us, as organizers of the interpreters, a chance to fill in the spaces that we need. And I can see Carrie wrote down there, self-advocacy is so important. Absolutely, because you know what, guys? One day you're going to get them across that stage. They're going to graduate, and they're going to go to community college, or they're going to go to a university, or they're going to go to a job, and they're going to need to know how to advocate for the things that they need in order to participate. There are many ways that you can send a Padlet. You can copy or print the auto-generated QR code. You can copy the link and send it. You can share it on Facebook or Twitter. You can even export it as an image, a PDF, a CSV, or even an Excel spreadsheet. Say that 3 times. here is the resource. If you want to scan the code right now or copy this code, that Padlet has everything that you had in this presentation. I'll give it just a few seconds. I would hum an enchanting tune, but I'm not sure you would appreciate that. Here are my references. Before we move on, does anybody have any questions about the use of Padlet in a classroom? You can use the chat box down below. You can turn your microphone on. I see Patty is typing. If anybody else has questions while she's typing, you can start typing yours as well. Okay, while we're waiting for her question, or while we're waiting for people to type, I'd like to direct you to the web links and ask you to please make sure that you take our survey on this presentation. We are, as we said before, a state discretionary project, and the way the state knows that we are valuable and a resource that teachers need is by your survey results. So we're asking everyone to please take our survey. I'll have a link up in the slides in just a second, but if you click on the web links in the pod, you can go straight to that survey now. So Patty writes, so students could create their own self-advocacy brochures to offer their teachers regarding their hearing loss, interests, accommodations, needs, etc., right? Would it be secure enough to share that way? You can change the access. So you could change it to where only people who have the link would be able to access it. The digital sharing rights in each district are, every district has different digital sharing rights, so you might want to check with your district, but you can make it to where they have to have a password to get in, or that only people who have the link can access. And so if you shared it through within a secure email server, then I would say that that would be safe, except for you would still have the opportunity for people to copy that link publicly. So it would be one of those things that you wouldn't want to have them put like their address and my parents aren't home from 5 to 7 in their presentation. But you could also have the students build it within their own Padlet and present it to the teachers, or use screen capture video recording for the students to send a video of the information in their Padlet. Does that answer your question, Patty? Awesome. Patty said yes, I'm so glad. Meg asks, is there a way to search for Padlet or people without knowing the specific link? Yes, if you go to Padlet.com and you search for Sherry Conrad, I've made most of my Padlets public so that you can go in and find them. Again, look up Jen Middleswart's stuff. Every one of her Padlets is so chock full of amazing resources that I cannot say enough good things about her. So yes, you can go in and search. Are there any other questions, or? You're welcome, Meg. So I have a shameless plug here. I'm full of shameless plugs today. For the Deaf Ed Twitter chat that's tonight. If you have not joined the Deaf Ed Twitter chat, you are missing out. Tonight's guest is Ricky Pointer, who is a YouTube sensation. It's her stuff is so good. Some of it's funny, some of it is very serious. So you can go on to twitter.com, make your little handle, and then by searching for #DeafEd, you can follow the progress of the conversations. The questions were uploaded today. Kara posts I'll just draw your attention to the chat box where Kara shared one of Ricky Pointer's YouTube videos. But if you go on, you can follow the conversation, and there's usually 3 or 4 questions that are answered every night that they do the DeafEd Twitter chat. You can also join their Remind text page, and then you'll get a text message when they're getting ready to start the DeafEd Twitter chat. Very, very good. Twitter is one of the biggest platforms, or one of the platforms getting the biggest following by teachers. You can build a professional learning network digitally by using Twitter. RMTC is planning in May on TA Live to talk about how you can continue your professional learning over the summer, with Twitter being one of our focuses. Next month, you don't want to miss this. Tracy Snow from the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind is going to be presenting 9 strategies for ASL, for 9 bilingual ASL strategies. This will be great. We encourage you all to come join us next month for TA Live. That will be on April 12th. If you have any questions, you can reach us by heading over to our website, one more time, RMTC-DHH.org, calling our 1-800 number, or sending an email to info@rmtcdhh.org. You can also find us on Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, and Vimeo. Thank you so much for being here today and joining us. Please complete our survey. It's very important. If you have suggestions for ways that this presentation